Hi, my name is Jan. I'm from Jan Ceramic Creations Plus in Aloha, and I'm going to show you what we have to offer in our little kits and show you a little bit about painting them. We have kits that we're selling that include 6 paints. It includes um, brushes and a piece of bisque that you can paint. You have the 6 basic colors that you need. And if you don't have a color that you want, like a gray for his beard, what I do is I take and mix a little bit to the side. Make sure you mix enough that you can paint the whole beard, but don't add a whole lot of black. Black will take over the whole color, and you'll have a black beard instead of a gray beard. So I mix it with my brush. Because it's a beard, I don't really care if it is slightly varied in color, because nobody's beard is the same color all over. What I do is I take my brush and I'm going to outline where I want the gray color and paint it. When you're painting acrylics, you want to make sure you paint them so that they are totally dry. We refer to them sometimes in the shop as being like house paints, because the more you brush them on, the smoother you get. And if you've ever painted in your house, you end up with it having little ridges and things when you don't paint it dry. And we don't want that. We want it to be a nice, smooth, even surface. And just like I did just now, I got a little bit on another area that I really don't want it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it. And then when I go to paint the other, again, they're opaque so that they cover a lot of area. So you want to make sure that you just go ahead and paint it and get it nice and smooth. Get the color you want where you want it. And as you're doing it, you're thinking about, okay, now I've got a beard. I knew what color I wanted my beard, but what color do I want my hat and my shoes? And he has a little coat in the back, so we have to think about the color that we want to use for him. While I'm painting, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we have to offer for you. In our shop, we have not just the acrylics, which is what we're using here, but we also have items that you can buy and glaze. Glaze is something that you have to put on items that are for food and drink, because that makes them food safe. Acrylics are not food safe, so therefore you should not be using them on anything that you plan on using for foods. I'm getting the gray all covered up now. If I find that I am a little thin on areas and I don't have a good coverage on it, I can go back and touch it up. That's the nice thing about acrylics. They do touch up nice and easy. So there I've got his beard. Now he has a little nose. He doesn't have any hands, but he has a little nose. I don't want his nose to be totally red. So what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to take a little drop of red, and I'm going to take some white, and I'm going to mix my red and my white and come up with a kind of a pinky color. He may look like he's been outside too long, sunburned nose or something like that. But you can mix a color and then paint the nose so he's not a red-nosed reindeer of any kind. Give him some color. You want to make sure you are using a brush that is appropriate for the size that you're painting. If you have a small area, you want that small area to have a really tiny brush. And you want a brush that is going to have a good sharp point for doing outlining. Brushes that are in our kit, we have 3 sizes. We have one that's a small brush with a nice point on it, so you can get right in next to the edges and things like that. And next I'm going to paint his shoes. I think I want his shoes black, so we'll get some black. I don't generally like to use a lot of black because black tends to cover everything up. And when we're in the shop, we ask the kids not to use the black until the very end, because for whatever reason, it seems to take over everything. And we have everything black instead of having some nice coloring in it. So be careful with your black, because it's not only is it will take over everything, but it will cover everything, and it's hard to touch up with the other colors. So we'll get it nice and smooth. We want to make sure we have everything covered. That's what makes it look pretty. Projects like this are really good for kids and families during a time when you have not much to do and you're staying in. You want to have a project. It's fun for kids. They can choose the colors they want. They can do whatever they want to paint it the way they want it. And it's a time for families to get together. So you want to paint together, and we have different things in the kits. We not only have the little gnomes, but we also have, I think we have a little car and a flower. So we try to have things that are good for kids in all ages. Ceramics is not just for kids and all, it's for all ages. All the way from 5 years old all the way up to 100 years old. So I've decided I want to have a blue hat. So I'm going to take the blue. And when I'm putting paint out on my tile, I don't put a whole lot of paint out because I don't sometimes find I don't need it. And the paint that you're getting in your kit is sufficient to where you're going to have a lot of different projects you can do. Not just the one that comes with the kit, but you're going to have paint that you can use in another project. Which is one of the ways you can do is if you buy a kit, then you can also buy extra pieces of bisque that you can paint later. I keep going around, trying not to get it onto the other paint. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, is trying to keep it from the other. Now, as you see, I've had a brush that I've used for most of it. Now I have an area that's very large, and so what I want to do is I want to come back. I don't want to be sitting here painting for hours on end with a little bitty brush. So I'm going to take a larger brush that I have here, washing it out before I use it because I want to make sure there's nothing else in it. That's important. And then you take the big brush, and as I say, you can use a brush that's appropriate for the size that you do. That way you cover the area and it looks really good, and you're not just sitting here painting in one little spot with a little bitty brush. So we're going to cover it all up. There we go. Now we want to get it nice and even, brush it on so that you can have a nice pretty surface. This little guy will be nice in somebody's garden. If you have flower pots in your yard, you have an area on your patio, he looks really cute. He's getting cuter as we get him painted. So then when you are thinking about colors, you think about your favorite colors. You think about how you look at it and what you want to see in it. And so now on the back side of him, I'm going to put his coat red so that it's a little bit of a contrast. When I use the red is one of the colors that's more difficult to paint with. Usually takes more coats because it's translucent. And I don't know if you're familiar with the term translucent, but the way we explain it here is that the translucence is like a colored glass. What's behind it will shine through. So if there's light shining through that window, it's going to lighten the color, in front of it. And so we try to, sometimes when you have a color that's a little more translucent than others, like your red, some yellows, things like that, you may have to put a second coat on. That gives you a better coverage, looks better in the end. Now if you happen to, if you can see, I've accidentally gotten over here with the black, I can go along with my paintbrush and straighten up my lines. I guess that's what's nice about your acrylics, is because you can go along and straighten up and make them look really nice. I'll also give you a tip too on painting straight lines. Don't try to do it slowly. A lot of times we try to do things slowly, we think it's going to be a little more accurate. And in reality, if you do a line, it will be best if you do it quickly. Think about where you're going, point A to point B, and then go. It works. So, and there we have our little guy. He's painted and ready to go. And one of the things, if you do not have any spray, one of the ways that you can seal it is by taking a soft terry cloth or soft t-shirt and polishing it like you would polish something firmly, and it'll smooth up the surface so it really looks well. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoy ceramics, and